last decade, the three-row crossover has comfortably replaced the minivan as the family vehicle of choice here in America. Now, Toyota was technically one of the first entries with the Highlander back in 2001, and today it's been fully redesigned, now in its fourth generation, completely new for the 2020 model year. Now, because this segment has grown increasingly popular, Kia entered the segment with the all-new Telluride just last year, and it's become somewhat of a celebrity in this segment as dealers can't seem to keep enough of them in stock, and buyers are simply paying MSRP or more in order to get their hands on one. It's very similar to what happened to Honda when they first redesigned the Odyssey back in 1999. So today I brought along the all-new 2020 Highlander to pair up against the very high-demand 2020 Kia Telluride. And the big question I want to answer, has Toyota given the all-new 2020 Highlander enough swag to steal the spotlight away from the Telluride? That's what we're here to find out. So while it may look like we're out here in the middle of the woods defying the stay-at-home order in Virginia due to the coronavirus, you guys might be actually surprised to know that I'm still technically at home. My neighbor was kind enough to let me use his backyard, which backs up to the woods. So technically I'm still at home, and I want to give a shout out to my neighbor for letting me use his backyard in order to film this comparison test. Now obviously, now that we have the all-new Telluride next to the 2020 Highlander, I want to go back to the question that I asked in the intro. Has Toyota given the Highlander enough swag to steal the spotlight away from the Telluride? Well, I'm going to answer that question throughout the video, but when you first look at the front fascia, I'm going to pretty much say no. I think the Kia definitely still looks like the more premium, the more standout-ish option here, especially when you guys go for the fully loaded SX trim painted in this white metallic exterior color for $400 extra. It is the only trim that has full LED headlights with an amber illuminated daytime running light. This car seriously still turns a lot of heads. It looks very much like a mixture of a Range Rover with a Cadillac Escalade, and you basically get that design element for half the price. It's one of the reasons why the Telluride continues to be in such high demand. I personally think it's a better looking car versus the Hyundai Palisade, its sister vehicle. Now, looking at the all-new 2020 Highlander, this is still a relatively good-looking vehicle, especially in this moon dust metallic paint. This is a $425 option. This particular one here that I'm showing you is the fully loaded Platinum model. It comes standard with full LED headlights. In fact, every trim of the Highlander comes standard with LEDs, although the Platinum gives you the swiveling projector LEDs with LED fog lights down here. The grille of this car, I'm still not really a fan of it. To me, it reminds me a lot of a Subaru Ascent, to be more exact. Overall, I think the design is very much safe. Toyota took a very evolutionary approach. You can tell that this is the Platinum trim because there's this silver bar here at the lower front fascia. But overall, for me, if you're going to look at the cars based on the design at the front end, I think the Kia still has more swag versus the new Highlander. So when this segment started about 20 years ago, vehicles were roughly about a foot shorter. Today, they've definitely gone up in size a lot. They're almost like supersized minivans, but basically dressed up as SUVs. The Highlander itself grew a little bit for this new generation. Riding on the TNGA platform, it roughly is around 195 inches long. Its wheelbase is around 112 inches long. Now that does seem big until you have it parked next to the Telluride like I have here. And the Telluride is about 2 inches longer in the overall length, 2 inches longer in the wheelbase, and about 2 inches wider as well. Now that's going to give you a lot more interior space. Kia says there's actually about 40 more cubic feet of overall space in the Telluride versus the Highlander. So in terms of has Toyota given the Highlander enough swag to steal it away from Kia? When you look at the side profiles, no, the Kia is technically still the bigger vehicle. And here in America, people like bigger, they like more space. Now, both of these crossovers also ride on 20-inch wheels, which are nice. The Kia technically has a nicer finish on the wheel itself. It's a black finish wheel on wider tires, 245 width tires over here, 235 width on the Highlander, so about 10 millimeters narrower. Both of these SUVs have roughly 8 inches of ground clearance, so you technically could take it off the pavement just so long as it's not like a rock trail like some people may take their Jeeps to. So at the rear of these two family crossovers, if you're going to ask me which one I think is the better looking option, it's really hard for me to decide on a winner because basically if you like vertical taillights, go with the Kia. If you like horizontal taillights, go with the Highlander. They both have relatively clean designs, although the Kia will probably get a few more points because the taillights are basically LED. You'll get LED brake lights, LED turn signals, although this is an incandescent for the reverse light. The tag lights are also an incandescent. I don't particularly love the all black plastic bumper at the back, but you do also have these nice exposed exhaust tips, although I think Kia should have just done a dual outlet on each side of the bumper to make it look a little bit more sportier looking. Now in contrast, the Highlander has basically like an LED combination rear tail light. It looks like the nighttime illumination for the tail light is actually LED. However, the brake lights are just incandescent. The turn signals are incandescent. The third brake light is LED, and then Toyota also uses just an incandescent bulb for the tag light. I do like that my tester here has this nice chrome plated rear bumper protector. I think it actually makes it look relatively more upscale. Although as you can see down here, Toyota does paint the rear bumper, but they don't actually give us any exposed exhaust tips, which I'm okay with because these are both family cars. Now opening up the trunk capacity, the Kia also technically wins this one as well because this does offer more space. Remember, this is the longer vehicle. With the third row seats up, you're going to actually be able to carry a decent amount of space back here. Kia says you get around 21 cubic feet of space with the third row up, which is not bad. If you want to fold down the third row seat here, you basically just pull on this little strap here. Fold that down, you get around 46 cubic feet of space, and if you fold everything down, the space expands to around 87 cubic feet of space. Now that is a little bit more versus the Highlander, which Toyota says with the third row seat up, you can see it's considerably smaller. It offers around 16 cubic feet of space, which isn't bad. If you want to fold down the third row, Toyota actually says you get around 48 cubic feet of space, and if you fold everything down, you get around 84 cubic feet of space. So not that much less, but if you guys are looking for the numbers, the Kia technically has the bigger trunk and cargo area. So let's first get inside the all-new interior for the 2020 Telluride. First shutting the door. It has a very nice solid thunk because this car, for me, when I first drove it, feels a lot like a German car. Technically, Kia hired a bunch of Germans to do their design and the product development, so it doesn't really surprise me that it feels that way. When you start the car up, I'm gonna briefly just go over this interior because if you guys are looking to see a full review, be sure to click on the link below where I will basically go more in depth with this interior. But this particular one here is basically the SX with the Prestige package. So I have heated and cooled seats in the front and in the second row. You've got a 10.25-inch display here that does include things like Android Auto and Apple CarPlay. This is basically Kia's latest version of their Uvo infotainment system. It's a very nice looking display, as you can see there. Apple CarPlay takes up the entire screen here, although I wish that Kia would get rid of some of the black plastic here where it's taking up some real estate, where I think they could have just given us the full screen. The interior in this particular one here is very nice. You've got stitching here on the upper part of the dash. You've got this fake wood trim. You have some fake metal trim, although it does look rather convincingly real. The seats are also pretty plush. They're very wide, comfortable, supportive. I really like the overall design because this interior feels really spacious. It feels really airy. You have basically all the latest tech features in here. I love the cooled seats, which also work very well. The Harman Kardon stereo in this one has 10 speakers. It also sounds really good. Kia typically does very well in there. And I also like that there's a lot of storage over here for the wireless phone charger, cup holder, your shifter here, you've got your drive mode selector. So this interior is gonna make a lot of people happy for its roominess, for its technology, for a lot of features that it comes with, especially for the money. But let's hop on the new Highlander because I want to compare the actual fit and finish of that car versus the Kia. So getting into the all-new 4th generation Highlander, let me first shut the door. It doesn't sound quite as solid as the Kia. You guys heard it's a little bit more hollow sounding. There's a little bit of a shudder, so that doesn't really make me feel like I'm in a higher quality vehicle to start. Turning the vehicle on, the Highlander's interior is definitely a huge improvement over the previous generation model, and this is where it's going to be standing out the most. This is the largest display that Toyota has ever done in any of their production cars. It's a Lexus rivaling 12.3-inch touchscreen display, and as you can see, the graphics are much improved in this new screen. I also love the position of it. It's a little bit closer versus the Kia, so I can kind of reach this a little bit easier. As you can see there, it also has Android Auto, Apple CarPlay, Amazon Alexa, although what I don't like is the CarPlay does not have the ability to take up the whole screen. I really wish that they allowed you to do that. If I push that button here, I can make this the entire screen for the actual side cluster there. But I want to be able to put the Apple CarPlay there, the whole screen, and for some reason it doesn't let me do that, although it's still relatively nice to see. It's very clear. The graphics are much improved, so I think that Toyota has done a really good job with the infotainment system. Now this one here is the Platinum model. It's the top of the line. The seats, as you can see, are heated and ventilated. However, they're only ventilated in the front row, not in the second row. The leather in this car also isn't a Napa leather like it is in the Kia. However, I will say it is very plush. I find the seats in the Highlander to be a little bit softer versus the Kia, so try the seats out if you guys are trying to decide between the two vehicles. In terms of the fit and finish, material quality in here, Toyota also puts a fake wood trim here on the dashboard and on the center console. Although the wood here has more of a shinier finish versus the Kia, there's also like this texturized aluminum trim here that tries to make it look like a mixture of aluminum and carbon fiber. I actually like the way this looks There's also some stitching here. There's some more of that soft text leatherette that is genuine on the Highlander. It's also down here, just like it is on the Kia. So in terms of interior quality, fit and finish, I'd say they're pretty even. The Highlander does fight back with some different features like a digital Rearview camera mirror over here that's part of the Platinum package. You also have a full, panoramic sunroof that takes up the entire roof versus the Kia. And overall, I think the interior of this car feels a little bit more snug. The Kia felt a little bit more spacious, but it does have a little bit more storage here on this level and on this level. So overall, the Toyota's interior is also equally nice. It's really just going to come down to which one is your preference. I'm going to call this a tie in terms of if the Highlander has more swag versus the Kia. So now the most important question, these are family cars. So let's hop into the second and third row of these vehicles. Let me first start with the Telluride. Now the first thing I'm noticing, the door opens up very wide, so you can kind of get a lot of room in here to actually get a car seat or people or stuff back here. And getting into the third row, this SX trim does come with the captain's chairs. It's your only choice if you guys want the top of the line model. Kia does offer a bench if you guys want to step down to the lower EX trim, but as you can see here, there is plenty of room. Kia says you get around 42 inches of legroom. That's technically an inch more than versus what you get in the front seats. There's plenty of space back here for me to get comfortable. I can basically recline the seat back. I can slide it forward and back. I also have heated and ventilated seats back here. That's part of the Prestige package. This is one of the first vehicles to get it. Only this car and the Palisade offers a ventilated second row seat. And there are also some cool features back here, like 2 USB charging ports on the sides of the seat back. You have rear seat air vents back here, your own set of rear climate controls, which are up here in the ceiling. The sunroof here, as you can see, lets in a lot of light, although there is a little partition here that kind of separates the two sunroofs away from each other, so it's not just one continuous piece. But overall, the second row is definitely very usable, one of the largest in the segment. Now let me get into the third row here and show you guys what the space is like. Now Kia offers a really nice solution for that. They actually took a page out of Honda's book here. Just push this button here. You can see the seat slides forward and out of the way. It's kind of hydraulically assisted. As you can see, the third row does seat 3 people across. You can fit up to 8 people in this car. And let me get back here to show you guys the space. I am 5'7", so I'm not the tallest person, but this is with the seat all the way back. And even though the seat's all the way back, I can get back here and be comfortable on a longer, maybe 2 hour long trip. And if you wanted, you can have this seat pushed forward a little bit to give you even more space. As you can see back here, there are rear seat air vents. There's actually 2 USB chargers. There's cup holders back here. So the third row passengers aren't necessarily shafted. You have a good amount of space. There's also these big windows here, so you can actually get a nice view out of this back area here, which would prevent people who get car sick, from getting car sick. So overall, if you actually need to carry adults in the third row that are under 6 feet, you can easily do that in the Telluride and its sister car, the Palisade. So let's move over to the Highlander and see how the space compares. Now, obviously, this car also comes standard with 7 or 8 passenger seating. Let's open up the rear door here. I'm noticing immediately the door isn't quite as big, and it also doesn't open quite as wide, which could be a problem if you guys are regularly, moving car seats in and out of this vehicle. But as you can see, the Limited also has these nice captain's chairs that offers a good amount of space. Let me get back here and show you guys what it's like. Now, Toyota also only offers captain's chairs if you guys go for the top trim. And they also say you get around 42 inches of legroom back here. So it's an inch less versus the Telluride. And as you can see here, the floor is almost completely flat. There is a good amount of space back here. The seats also kind of allow you to slide them forward and back if you'd like. You can also do a recline. So these are definitely a nice second row seat. They offer 3-level heated seats. However, if you're looking for cooled seats, you better hop over into the Kia. You do also have rear seat temperature control here. The vents are in the ceiling. You have 2 USB charging ports down there along with a power outlet. And then as you can see here, the Toyota offers a sunroof option, but I also like how it takes up, it's one continuous piece. There is a little bar here that kind of, cuts the 2 sunroofs in half, but it doesn't have that whole, piece of, roof structure unlike the Kia. So this is a really nice view when you guys are looking to have, all the open air experience with the panoramic sunroof. Let me hop into the third row really quick and show you guys how to get back here. Now, first of all, you can probably either go through the middle seats over there, just like in the Kia, but Toyota gives you this little lever here. You pull this lever and the seat will kind of move forward, but you do have to kind of push the seat forward. And as you can see, right off the bat, I'm noticing there is considerably less legroom back here. That's with the seat all the way back on the other side, just like the Kia. So let me get back here and show you guys what it's like. Ooh, wow, the floor I'm noticing also is not quite as low. Whew. And for somebody who's 5'7", wow, this is really, really pathetic. To me, it seems like a missed opportunity because there is seriously no legroom back here. Remember, this second row seat is all the way back, just like in the Kia, but I cannot get comfortable back here because you have to move the seat up, which will take up space in the second row. So I don't know what Toyota was thinking. Now, in terms of features, no USB chargers back here, but you do have cup holders. There are rear seat air vents. These windows here are also very small. So if you guys get car sick or claustrophobic, you're not going to be wanting to sit in the third row of this vehicle. In fact, in terms of the numbers, Toyota says there's about 27 inches of legroom back here. Compare that to the nearly 32 that Kia offers, and it's a big difference. It's about a 15% difference. So in terms of swag in the rear, in terms of space, the Highlander definitely doesn't do it. The Kia still has the spotlight there. Now, under the hood of these two family vehicles, they both use naturally aspirated V6s, which is technically what buyers in this segment demand. Let's first open up the hood of the Kia. As you can see, it's got these nice struts that hold up the hood. Let's open up the hood on the new Highlander. Oh dear. It uses a prop rod, which is not something I expected considering Toyota's position in the industry as being one of the top segments in the segment. Top players in the segment. Top.
That's gonna screw you up by trying to make.
Oh dear. Oh dear. Let me try this again.
Okay.
Put down, which really surprised me. Toyota has always been the benchmark in this segment, especially when you look at quality. Now, under the hood of these two vehicles, let's start with the Kia. It has a very dirty engine bay because this one here has about 14,000 miles on it, but it has a 3.8 liter naturally aspirated V6 with the company's direct injection. It makes 291 horsepower and 262 pound-feet of torque. Those numbers are very much competitive, although Kia used to do a version of this engine that had about 293 horsepower, so it's lost a couple of ponies over the years. It all goes out through an 8-speed automatic transmission, and fuel economy is rated at 19 in the city, 24 on the highway. You can take your pick between either front or all-wheel drive for about $2,000 extra. The Telluride, when you guys have equip it with the tow package, will tow a maximum of 5,000 pounds, and it weighs just under 4,500 pounds. Now, in comparison, the Highlander has been using basically the same V6 for the last few years. It's a very good engine. This is the company's 3.5 liter 2GR V6 engine. It's got the direct end port injection. That's what D4S stands for. This engine was basically all new in the Highlander a couple of years ago, and it actually makes more horsepower versus the Telluride, even though it's a smaller engine. This makes 295 horsepower, so not that much more, and 263 pound-feet of torque. Just like the Kia, it goes out through an 8-speed automatic transmission. Highlanders are available with either front or all-wheel drive for about $2,000 extra. Now, unlike the Kia, Toyota also offers a different powertrain on the Highlander, which is probably one that a lot of families are going to look at. It's the Highlander Hybrid, which combines a 2.5 liter 4-cylinder with basically 3 electric motors, depending on if you guys go for all-wheel drive. Regardless of the drivetrain, you're going to get about 243 horsepower when you combine the outputs of the gas engine with the electric motors. And the hybrid version is the one that a lot of families are going to want if you guys are demanding the best MPG. The hybrid is rated to get up to 35 miles to the gallon, 1 MPG more if you guys go for the front drive model. That's best in class. Even the Ford Explorer Hybrid, which was also new for 2020, only manages to muster up about 25 MPG. So really, Toyota has the MPG figures down if you're looking for the best fuel economy in this 3-row family segment. Now, this gas V6 version is rated to get 20 in the city and 27 on the highway. It goes out through an 8-speed auto, as I said. The hybrid uses a CVT, and properly equipped, the gas version will tow a maximum of 5,000 pounds. The hybrid will tow a little bit less. This one here, as it sits, weighs around 4,500 pounds. So if you're gonna go back to my question, does the Highlander have more swag under the hood? I'm gonna say yes, because it offers more power, and it also has that hybrid version that gets up to 35 mpg. So once you get past the exterior styling, the interior tech, how it feels, eventually you have to drive these two cars because a lot of families take these big vehicles on road trips and such. They carry all of your, your people, your stuff. They're very important vehicles in the segment that it competes in. So let me first start off in the 2020 Kia Telluride. I've actually driven this car here in the DC area. This is my 3rd time getting this for a week-long loan, and I have to say, when Kia first gave me this car, it had like 3,000 miles on it, and now it has 14,000 miles on it. So it's definitely been getting some hard usage, from all members of the media around the DC area. And I have to say, the Telluride still feels as solid as when I first got this car early last year, even though it has, almost 15,000 miles on it. This is a car that blends certain characteristics of a German with American car when I'm driving it, because it feels very solid, it feels very secure, it feels like a tank when it's going down the road. It also feels relatively big. The Telluride is 2 inches wider than the Highlander, and you definitely feel that when you're going down the road, which isn't a bad thing because the car feels like it's very roomy in here. It feels very secure and safe. The ride quality is very comfortable, even though this has got big 20-inch wheels. The car itself just feels very premium from the way you look at it, from the way you sit in it, from the way it drives. It's very quiet in here as well. The engine noise is subdued, the road noise is subdued, and that's the thing about Korean cars is before their engines were always kind of behind a lot of the Japanese or American cars, and today this 3.8 liter V6 is very much right in the norm. We'll hop into the Highlander after this car, but the smoothness of this engine is just unheard of for a Korean engine, just 5 years ago. Kia and Hyundai have really stepped it up, and it shows up. Now, the Telluride is definitely not the sportiest entry. The Mazda CX-9 and the Subaru Ascent still hold that title. But in this segment, nobody really cares about sportiness as much. I mean, sure, we want, our family car to drive securely, to be comfortable, to be competent when we're, hustling it down, some curvy roads. But the majority of these vehicles, the owners here in America, they're going to be driving it on smooth pavement. They're going to be driving it on highway, or they're going to be driving it around their neighborhoods or around their towns. Now, this car does have a couple of drive modes here. Let's switch it over to Sport. I had it in its Smart setting earlier. Now, this car will get to 60 in roughly 7.5 seconds. It is a competently quick car. It's not the quickest in the segment. The Honda Pilot, I believe, holds that title at 6.5 seconds or 6.2 seconds, but the engine is very smooth. It's very rev happy, surprisingly. Actually, it enjoys revving all the way up to 6,500 RPM, but most people aren't going to be pushing their family cars' engines that hard. But basically, it has just enough power. Kia and Hyundai left the power of this car just to be perfectly competent because they knew that a luxury version of the Genesis brand will come out with this powertrain or with this size of a vehicle, not the same vehicle per se, but the GV80, which has a 3.5 liter twin turbo V6, that's what I'm really looking forward to driving. That'll compete something along the lines of like a Ford Explorer ST, which again has a 3 liter twin turbo V6. If you want more power, you need to go look at that Explorer ST in the segment. But from a stop here, it's very responsive, love the feel of a naturally aspirated engine, no lag, competent 8-speed automatic. This is a Hyundai and Kia design transmission. It just is very much goes about its business without much fuss. It gets decent gas mileage as well. In our week's worth of testing, I got about 18 miles to the gallon in this car. On the highway, I had this car for I took it on a long trip last year. I drove it up to Boston and it got around 24 mpg. So very good gas mileage in the real world. Pretty much what I expect in this segment. Visibility is also good. The driver assistance in this car is also very good. Hyundai and Kia have an excellent lane keep assist. They've got a great adaptive cruise control system, which has like the highway driving assist and stuff like that, so it'll follow the traffic to a full stop. The blind spot monitoring in this car, when you signal left or right, it shows you in your display here a little image what the blind spot camera, blind view camera is what it's called, is showing what's right there. The Highlander doesn't offer a feature like that, but Toyota does have its own feature, which we'll talk about when we hop into that car. So overall, there's a lot to like about the Telluride still, and it's the whole package. So that's the reason why this car has set the benchmark and the bar very high. But let's hop into the Highlander and see how it compares to this all-new Telluride. So the Toyota Highlander has long held a reputation for being the Camry of midsize SUVs. I mean, the original one was based off of the Camry. This new one is no different. Finally switches over to that TNGA platform, which is a very good thing. And just after hopping out of the Kia, I'm noticing quite a few things with the Highlander. First, it does feel a little bit smaller than the Kia. It's a 2-inch narrower car, and you're gonna feel that on, your tighter neighborhood roads like this whenever you're hustling the car. It's not a sporty driving car, the new Highlander, but it does feel slightly smaller and a little bit easier to park. So if you guys, have a little bit of trouble parking big cars, you might want to consider the Highlander. But I am noticing immediately the interior feels less spacious in this car. I feel like I'm sitting closer to my passenger passenger here. The dashboard also feels a little bit closer. It doesn't feel quite as open and airy, but what I do like about the Highlander is the 12-inch display here. You can see it's a little bit closer reach versus the Kia. The Kia had a little bit of a longer reach. What I don't like about the Highlander is I can't make the CarPlay take up the entire 12-inch display, which is a little disappointing, but at least the icons are big. This is probably taking up about 8 inches of the display, and you can't even make it take up the full screen. Like if I touch this button here, it just swaps the two back and forth. So I'd really like for Toyota to fix that so they can take up the whole screen. The Highlander does feel roughly the same as the Kia in terms of the ride quality. This also has 20-inch wheels. The seats, however, in this car are a little bit softer. The Kia seats aren't uncomfortable, but I'm just noticing the leather is a little more plush in this car. In terms of quietness, I would need one of those little sound decibel meters to really notice. They sound identical, which is a good thing because the Highlander's always had a reputation for being one of the quietest. The same goes for this new one. The Kia is of course just equally as quiet. The steering in this car feels a little bit less direct than the Kia. It's a little bit softer. The car itself just feels a little bit softer. Remember, Toyota doesn't do a sporty, SUV really. There is a Highlander XSE that's coming for 2021, which they claim they've injected a little bit of sport from a Camry XSE into this thing. I'll reserve judgment until I drive it. But the Highlander still very much is the Camry of SUVs. But the problem is the Camry doesn't really distinguish itself as being the best driving family car anymore. And that goes the case with the Highlander. It's still a very nice driving family SUV, but I wouldn't definitely say it's the best. This is still very competent, and it's still very nice. But if you drive the competition, you're going to notice it's not quite as nice. So we'll go over here into the sport setting here, put our foot down. So the engine in the Highlander, this is the company's 3.5 liter V6, 295 horsepower. It has 4 more horsepower versus the Kia. The two cars feel identical in terms of acceleration. The numbers show this car is around 7.4, 7.5 seconds as well. In a drag race, which who the hell's going to do that in this segment? They would probably be neck and neck. The Highlander's engine makes a little bit less noise at higher RPMs, but the Kia's engine is not noisy. It just sounds a little bit more deeper in its tone. The Highlander's engine sounds a little bit more tinny. It's a little bit more synthesized, which Toyota definitely does a lot with their latest crop of products. The 8-speed auto in this car is also not quite as responsive as the one in the Kia. This is a Toyota design transmission. In its sport mode here, it's a little bit better, but this car doesn't have like an adaptive smart mode like what the Kia does, which I wish it did, because in sport it's a little too aggressive for everyday driving. Now they both shift with really good quality. This is a very smooth shifting transmission, smooth engine that also likes to rev. The Highlander's driver assistance is also standard, just like it is in the Kia. However, the Highlander's lane keep isn't quite as good as the Kia's, and whenever you cross the line, it has that stupid beep, which I hate. You can't turn that beep off if you want the car to actually steer you. It does steer as well, but I wish I could turn off the beep and just have it steer. That's what Kia does, which I just don't like the beep. This car also has full speed range adaptive cruise control. It has blind spot monitoring, but what it doesn't have is those blind spot mirrors. But however, what the Highlander does give you is this digital rear view mirror that kind of acts like that, because as you can see, this view is actually really good. It shows you exactly, like that Sonata right there is in my blind spot. You can actually see it in the blind spot. It shows it to you right there. The rear view camera mirror is cool, but I think that I would probably prefer or find the cameras in the Kia a little bit more useful. The Highlander's safety tech is good. This car also comes with a heads-up display. It's a little bit larger than the one in the Kia. It basically just shows you your tachometer, which the Kia didn't. I could take it or leave it. Both are pretty good. Overall, the Highlander's driving dynamics, again, very almost Lexus-like. Very smooth, very quiet. Same with the Kia. It just doesn't really distinguish itself from the Kia either. It's a very nice driving SUV, but so is a lot of other vehicles in the competition, or other vehicles in this segment. So it makes the Highlander a little bit less standoutish whenever you're trying to decide between two vehicles. In terms of fuel economy, I've been averaging around 18 mpg in this car. I got it up to around 26 on the highway. So a little bit better mpg, but 1 or 2 miles to the gallon isn't going to make a huge difference for most people, especially during right now where gas prices are under $2 a gallon around most of the country. So now let's talk about the sales figures of both of these cars. The Toyota Highlander is obviously the better selling unit. Toyota managed to sell around 240,000 Highlanders in all of 2019. It consistently is one of the top selling three-row crossovers you can buy. It and the Ford Explorer are really the best ones you can buy here in the States. However, the Kia Telluride also did pretty well itself. For about 8 months in 2019, Kia managed to move around just under 60,000 units here in the States. And honestly, dealers can't even keep them in stock. Even today, with sales kind of dropping like a fly during this coronavirus pandemic, the Telluride still remains a vehicle that is in high demand. Kia dealers, from what I've seen here in the DC area, are still charging at least MSRP, but the average is around 3,000 MSRP for a Telluride SX. Now, in relation to the Kia, the Highlander, the new version just went on sale a couple months ago. And when I talk to Toyota dealers here in the DC area, they've been telling me that this car has been selling pretty close to sticker, especially if you guys are looking for the hybrid model or the models with the 12.3-inch display. This is a car that, again, is also in high demand because a lot of people like the technology. Highlanders in general also have a long reputation for reliability, for durability, for build quality, so there's a reason why people tend to buy these. Now, when it comes to the pricing, let's talk a little bit about that because the Kia is significantly less expensive. This car starts at just under $32,000, while the Highlander starts at around $34,000. So it's a $3,500 difference in base price between this and that. Now, at fully loaded trims, the Telluride over there stickers for around $47,000 with destination. This Highlander here is a little over $51,000. So again, it's about a $3,500 price delta. And some of you might be wondering, why is the Toyota considerably more expensive when the Kia is the one that has more swag? That's right. Now let's go back to the swag aspect because I'd mentioned a few times in this video if the Highlander had more swag. Well, if you look at efficiency and powertrain, the Highlander definitely wins there. And if you guys are looking for the most fuel-efficient SUV that has 3 rows, at 35 mpg, the Highlander Hybrid is definitely the one that you're going to want to go for. However, as you guys saw, the Kia wins in the category in terms of styling, in terms of interior comfort, and in terms of pricing because this car is about $3,500 less. So really, has Toyota managed to do it? Have they managed to steal the swag away from the Kia? No, because if you look at everything else that the Highlander offers, it's still kind of lagging behind. And I think where Toyota dropped the ball considerably is in the third row seat space. It's just unbelievable how small that car is, how cramped it is, considering what Toyota saw that was out there on the market. Even the Honda Pilot has more space. Even the Subaru Ascent has more space. So really, if you guys don't need to actually put full-size adults in the third row of the Highlander, that's a vehicle that you'd be very happy with. However, most of you who plan to actually use the third row for putting kids or average size adults back there, you're gonna still want to put the 2020 Kia Telluride at the very top of your list. But with all that said, I hope you guys have enjoyed my comparison test between the all-new Toyota Highlander and the reigning champ, the Kia Telluride. If you're also looking to see the latest cars I'm testing, be sure to follow me on Instagram at Redline_reviews, like us on Facebook, and as always guys, please keep subscribing to the Redline Reviews YouTube channel for all the latest reviews. Thank you so much for watching. I'll catch you all in the next video.